Hey guys, so today I want to talk a little bit about things I had alluded to last time, and that is the difference between military, civilian, stealth, industrial, and competition components. Now, it's real easy to think, well, there's obviously a difference between, say, the military version of a thing and the civilian version of a thing, but what you may not realize is exactly what those differences entail. And it really comes down to a very simple chart. But first, let's talk about what can be different. If you look at this simple DPS calculator page for my Origin 300, which is not a military ship by any stretch of the meaning, you can see that it has weapons, missiles, shields, quantum drive, power plant, and down here, coolers and thrusters. You have to understand, and I'm sure as all of you do, weapons and missiles are all military items. So when you click on one, you just get different types of that thing. You don't get the selection to choose between civilian, competition, industrial, military, or stealth. With shields, quantum drive, power plant, and coolers, however, you do get those differences, not with thrusters. I don't know if they're going to change that. I'm not sure if you'll be able to change your thrusters eventually or not. For now, you cannot. So what's the difference then with the various item classifications? So item classifications were added back in patch 3.6, I think, if I recall. And the idea was to basically assign every ship part a component class. And then that component class would better talk to or speak to how that ship is meant to be used. So it occurs to me while I'm out and about doing my day job that currently there are no restrictions based on ship type. So in the future, one thing that they're considering doing, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but it really does make sense, is that eventually each ship will have a restriction as to the types or item classification that you can put in. So for example, most likely I think all ships will be able to fit a civilian one, and we'll talk about grades of items later, but I think eventually all ships will be able to do civilian, but eventually I imagine like military ships, you're not going to be able to put competition in there. Like it doesn't make sense. You know, it would require you to have a certain power level, a minimum power level or a minimum spec or whatever that some of the other item classifications may not meet. What you have to understand is that CIG is still very much in the design phase of this whole thing. So it may change. Ooh, that's a nice looking rock. I should go get that one. Anyway, sorry. Anyways, so it may change in the near future that you have to meet a certain criteria for each ship. So right now, all of them are available, but that may not always be the case. I just wanted to mention that as I was thinking of it. The default for this particular ship shield is the Web Grade 3 Civilian Shield. And it has stats, as you can see. We can actually click this. It has a very long list of stats. Now, one of the nice things, because there's two shields on this ship, I can change it. I can change this to the military version of... Actually, let's change it to the web. Let's change this to the best shield. So this is the best civilian shield, and this is now the best military grade shield. So what's the difference between the military grade and civilian grade? Well, the military grade, as a general rule, has the best overall functionality at the expense of the cost and the expense of emissions. So let me see, power to EM. Yeah, so EM and temperature and IR, they're much more emissive than the same version of shield for the civilian market. However, the military version is way better. Like with regards to HP regen, it's 171, so that's 171 points per second. It ticks back. Well, the military is 306, right? So that's a lot, Damage delay, so before it starts kicking on this, the last time damage took was 3.85 seconds ago. Then it starts ticking back up using this number. Well, in civilian world, it's 6.6. So that's not good. You want that number to be lower. So that's the primary difference. Each one is different. of the two, why would you ever want to run the civilian one versus the military one? And really it comes down to the emissions. If you want to be more stealthy than the military one, you would run the civilian one. And plus the cost difference is going to be huge. But now let's talk about stealth. So the stealth, the highest one is the Mirage. And the primary difference between, say, stealth and civilian, or stealth and anyone, is that stealth has a much reduced functionality, but it also massively reduces the signature and the power consumption. So again, that's a real thing you have to consider. So look, power to EM is 1.8. So you are very, very stealthy compared to the military, which was 11. And in fact, all of these stats are really reduced, but so is the total of shield generation provided. Industrial generally are harder, like a higher output, but also have a very high emission. So compare the industrial to the military. The industrial actually do a lot more. They're actually stronger. But again, they have high power EM emissions, even though they have low IR, which is interesting. I didn't realize that. And then the HP regen and the delay is actually along the line of civilian. But again, you're paying for it in terms of this ER. You're going to be lighting up the map. People are going to see you from a very long way away. And then finally, you have competition. And competition are technically higher performing than the military, but durability, stealth, basically overall performance is lower. And in this case, the amount they protect is a lot lower. So honestly, I really don't know where the competition comes in place, or why you would ever use the competition. I'm not sure what the point of competition is yet. So I hope that helps answer a basic question about what these various bits and pieces and parts are and why you would want to use one as opposed to another. If you use that website and pay real close attention to what it's telling you, you can actually learn quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of information out there that is really good information, and yeah, it's good. But ultimately, you have to build the ship how you want to build it, and if it works for you, go with it. But always be cognizant of what you're building. Just because the number is better, like just because it's higher DPS in the case of a weapon, or that it protects more in the case of a shield, doesn't necessarily mean it's the better thing. It may not be better, because what are you trying to do? If you're flying around in your ship, your civilian ship, and you're trying to be stealthy, the 300i is a good example. It's not a military ship. I really don't want to attract attention. So is putting military equipment on it smart? Probably not. Honestly, you're just asking for a fight you won't win. And then if you have a ship that is designed for stealth, like the Eclipse, putting military stuff on there may not make sense. I mean, again, you're not going to win a straight up fight. It's meant to be a stealthy craft, so go with stealth. So anyways, I hope that answers your question. This was a quick one, I realized, but someone asked, so I thought I'd get that out there. Definitely use that DPS calculation site. I'll link it down below, down there. And if you guys would click like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.